Yo, what's up? What's up? It's me, it's your man Johnny Main, here in the building tonight with my brother from another mother, Mr. Nick Wilcox. And tonight, here on the Fantasy Football Show, we got PPR Dreams and Superflex Nights. And basically just our time at the Fantasy Football Expo, one of the dopest places in the world to be. 3 drafts, 3 days, 2 of us. You know it was live. You know it was hype. Nick, what up, bro?
What up, my guy? Ooh, what a fire intro, because guess it was a crazy time in Ohio. As you guys know, my voice is still a little raspy. That's how good it was. If you weren't there, you were definitely missing out. Hella great people to talk to. Like a bunch of people that were just like full of community, full of love, and full of fun. It was so much fun. You should have saw the karaoke with Joe. But
y'all lucky, man. Y'all lucky I was hoarse, man. They didn't have my bag, man. They didn't have my Joe to see there, man. I'm waiting. 1 year, I'm gonna shut it down, baby. I'm gonna shut it down.
Do it next year. I'm gonna think of a couple of songs already.
we got to be quiet, so we got a voice.
Hard to do sometimes, literally.
Yeah.
Oh boy, yo, really hard to do, but fantastic time for real. But yeah, nothing more else to say, but you already know the Fantasy Football Show. We back, baby. We back. Special Thursday night. We'll be going back to Mondays on our show. We're going to start 2-timing it up when the season starts. So going to be breaking down the news. Obviously, news around the league going to be breaking down. First order of business. If you're first time here, like and subscribe to the channel. Your boys on X below the tags. We really appreciate y'all coming through to the channel. If you checking us out for the first time, please like, subscribe to the channel because we appreciate the love. We got hecka special guests coming. We got some bangers coming up. We got people that are showing a bunch of love to our channel. They're going to be coming through the next several weeks and into the season. You already know your season longs, your start sits, your DFS, and lastly, your betting money. Let's go and let's get it. So if you ain't following us, you ain't liking us, it's all good. But
if you're not, then what are you doing?
You don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. That's all I'm going to tell you. But news around the league. Let's start with Rashee Rice, right?
Here we go.
Rashee Rice. Adam Scheffler first reported talking about Rashee Rice is going to have his overall disciplinary meeting on September the 30th. What does that mean? It means that Rashee Rice is going to have at least have played 4 games into the NFL season before anything potential disciplinary actions happen. Now, we all are expecting a suspension. We're all expecting that Rashee Rice is going to get anywhere in the neighborhood of 4 games plus. And most of us thought it was going to happen before the season started, like Jordan Addison, for instance. So now there's another big wrench that comes with this, right? Rashee Rice, hey, the good news is that you'll have him at least for 4 games, whoever drafted him, because I know people have already had drafts already. In some cases, if you haven't, that's where it gets murky, because Rashee Rice, overall Uber League talented receiver, was averaging 20 fantasy points per game the first 3 games before his injury last year. And by the way, the PCL injury we're not even really concerned about right now. It's literally just more about the suspension and when it's happening. Because honestly, I'm a Rashee Rice guy. I've said it on the channel. And I've won him anywhere past the 4th or 5th round. But now the teams that haven't drafted him or anything yet, that's where it gets murky, because it depends on the room and who believes in Rice, and if they believe the suspension is going to be long or whatever, that's going to predicate on what it is for your drafts. John, what do you got to say about
it? I've made my statement like with Rashee Rice. Obviously we know the suspension is coming. We kind of talked about it last week offline. It's very similarly eerily to Zeke Elliott, his second year in the league, where the suspension was there, it was hanging out, knew it was going to happen. You got Rashee Rice. In this case, you got Zeke Elliott at a discount. You got a value. You got a baller to get you through the regular season. And then when you need him the most, he's not there. And I think like that could obviously leave some bad vibes and bad taste in fantasy managers' mouths. And I think you're right, man. Like, it is all about the room, right? Starting to warm up to him a little bit as far as, the build that, like, I have. Like, I think for me, I've said it before, like, I'm about mitigating risk. You wouldn't be able to tell that with some of my teams, but I'm about mitigating risk overall. And I think like this one is just one that, like, when you need him the most, it's questionable if he's going to be there. And I think then the other part too is like, what is the mental fatigue? Like, what's the mental fatigue that it's going to have on him? What is the mental fatigue that it could potentially have on the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes as a whole, right? Because one of the things has been Travis Kelce staying healthy, right? Like, so I think there's just a lot of variables. There's a lot of moving pieces, but if you're in a good situation and you are able to have, some players fall to you in the first 2 to 3 rounds that shouldn't be there, and then all of a sudden you have a guy like Rashee Rice, that becomes very tempting then, for sure. So that's my take, man.
So I guess my question for you, knowing that you're not a Rice guy, what's the point in where you would take Rice in upcoming drafts?
Yeah, like I said, like I think it's right there at that spot. Like, if I'm, and I'll just be kind of dramatic since I was picking at the back end all weekend. Like, hey, if I'm picking at the back end of a draft, right, and I'm able to grab my guy, Nico Collins, and then, maybe like a Malik Neighbors or something like that right there at the back end of the draft. Rashee Rice now becomes very, very interesting for me, like as a wide receiver 3, right? Just for me to be able to get a running back there in the second round, or even if it starts off something like Chase Brown, Nico Collins, and then, hey, I'm there on the turn. And he's coming back to me at 4. Like, it becomes very interesting then. And that's where I expect him to go, man, especially like in a lot of home leagues and things. I think it's one of those things where people are looking for any edge that they can get. And I don't want to, he's not a sleeper, but like, it's a move that people can make that they're like, all right, like this is the ace in the hole waiting. So I expect him to be like right there in that 3rd or 4th round, man, in home leagues coming up over the next week or two. So it's not going to shock me at all, man.
That's really interesting you say that. My thinking is that Rice falls later than that, because we already started to see Rice fall around pick 50-ish in some of these best ball drafts, and now we're transitioning over to season long. It's like his ADP is still like, like early 5th round. I really could see Rice drop to like the 5th, 6th round, early 6th round because of the uncertainty.
Home leagues, I don't think so, man. I don't think so in home leagues. I think there's so much volatility in home leagues, man. You have the people that that are relatively sharp. You have the people that are sharp, the people that pay attention, the people that know what's going on, and the people that draft off of ADP, right? And based off of, what your favorite analyst says or whatever the case may be, or just the most recent hot take. And I think that's one of the things, like, why I'm thinking like right around like the 4th round, like that's where it is. Whether it's, the beginning of the 4th or the end of the 4th, like you're a 5th round guy. So, hey, obviously it's a wide range, 4-1, 4-12. I just think that's where it's going to be, because I believe there's a lot of people, right? Like during this entire process, you've known that it's coming, but like you still drafted him in the space that you've drafted him. So now that you know that like he's going to be playing the first 4 games, well, that's, in my opinion, that's not going to knock him down. That's going to raise him up to be like, well, all right, well, maybe there's some hope. Maybe this suspension doesn't come this year. Maybe this suspension comes next year. And if the suspension comes next year, then like, all right, like now I have like a real value. So I think there are some fantasy managers that are they're a little bit risky. They roll the dice, and that's cool. Obviously, he could end up. It's crazy to say he could end up being a league winner, but like it could end up being a league winning pick if he doesn't get suspended this year. But I think all indications, I was actually just watching something with Fabiano before we came on. All indications are that the suspension is going to happen, and it's going to be right there in the middle of the season when you're dealing with bye weeks and you're dealing with, injuries, and like you're dealing with all of the things, right? Like, so it's yeah.
I see Scorman over there.
Yeah, it makes me kind of cringy. But again, like I said, like I haven't closed the door on him. I haven't closed the door on him. If anything, I think like the door is open for him. But I just think, again, man, a lot of variables for Rashee Rice.
Why are you more optimistic now than you were before?
Well, because the information just came out, bro. Like that's it. Like if it was nothing more than that, then I would still be on my stance of where I was a couple of weeks ago, that like somebody else could have him. Like I didn't take him. I don't have a lot of Quinshawn. Like I don't have a lot of those players because it's risky. And so like I'm hands off of those guys. Don't want to deal with it.
Speaking of Quinshawn, getting right into it, obviously Quinshon Judkins has had a interesting, off season.
To say the least.
It comes to,
being nice about it.
When it comes to this whole, domestic violence dispute and stuff like that. The news came out today is that there won't be any more prosecution for him in Florida overall. So I guess that's the good news. I guess the bad news that could still come down is that the NFL could still be like, hey, like, we're still trying to nip this in the butt. So we could still see like a 4 or 6 game, 8 game suspension from Judkins. But for like you said, I haven't been such a Judkins guy. We've been more on the Sampson train. And that's the whole thing and that's where I was getting at. Rob, appreciate you, Rob, for coming on to the show. Man. We really appreciate the love. Sure. But yeah, Judkins at pick 129, the Fans Classic. I do like that because it's in a range where you almost have nothing to lose at that point. I say anywhere around like 150 or later is like it's house money at that point. So yeah, 129 for Judkins. We already have at least hopefully 3 backs. That's good because again, we always try to play for the upside later on in the season. We have no idea how the Browns are going to look in that way as well. So it's an interesting case to make around that range. I think for Judkins, again, I haven't been a guy like on him, but at some point in a draft, he goes, at a point where it's just, baked in at that point. So anything to say about Judkins outside of, what we're seeing?
No, I think right. I think it's some other elements of this right here is obviously contractually, like where is he at, like with the Browns as far as being signed, and obviously you got to get him ramped up, you got to get him up to speed on things. I think for any rookie, right, there's always like the learning curve and the rookie wall. There's all those things that are always there. Again, like it's house money, and maybe it's something where maybe he starts to show up a little bit later on in the season. Just again, like and I'm not saying this now because of all the buzz that's floating around, but like I think I even said it during our off-season show, Travion Henderson was always the guy for me in the Ohio State backfield. I never was like a big Quinshon Judkins guy.
Totally. Yeah.
So like for me, it's just kind of like meh.
Right. And to your point, for me, Judkins was a guy that I wasn't, like clamoring towards. Like I saw him in college and I thought I was going to see more from him, especially when we went to Ohio State. And the fact that, Travion Henderson and him was really just, for the most part, Henderson was the 65 to, 60, 65 to, Judkins 40, 35 split in that backfield at times. I was like, Judkins is probably solid, but he landed in a crazy situation too with the Browns with Sampson and stuff like that. So, as a talent, I like Judkins, but I'm not in love with him. Yeah. Let's just say that. Other news is that Caleb Johnson is overall, I wouldn't say struggling in camp, but Mike Tomlin came out and said he needs to, just trust his instincts a little bit more. Caleb Johnson pretty much going like, I want to say 6th, 7th round right now in most drafts at the moment. So it's a little concerning to hear something like that because we expected Caleb Johnson to at least have a little bit more of a, more of a go-ahead right now in terms of establishing a role. I still think that role is there. I'm not exactly panicked by it. It's just more about like it'll be interesting to see the next this weekend's preseason game for the Steelers, your Steelers, in terms of how Caleb Johnson will look. I'm hoping he can still get that role early on versus like this is more steam for Jaylen Warren. I don't think so, but it's something that is a little concerning.
Yeah, I'm not. Like, I'll read into it a little bit. I think we all know Mike Tomlin's going to be Mike Tomlin. He's going to be vocal. And he's going to express what he needs to express. And I think if anything, man, I think this is just more of a call to say, hey, man, like, we're counting on you. And like, hey, like the reason why we drafted you is because of the special things like we've seen at Iowa. Like, play that away. Like, don't come out here. Don't play uptight. Right. Like, do the things that made you who you were at Iowa. And like, as far as like he goes and like you're talking about the role and steam for Jaylen Warren, and again, I'll continue to say it, man, was doing a little bit of research, obviously, today before we got on, and like just the Steelers backfield and like what it's been like this does not deter me from Caleb Johnson. It's not because I'm a fan, it's just because history says that like this is still going to be a thing, and the only way it's not a thing, in my opinion, is injury of some shape or form. So I think it's just like a perfect marriage in a lot of situations. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something to keep our eyes on. Again, I don't think you and I are even like so concerned about it. It's just more about just something to watch out for. Gives Jalen Warren a little bit more of a bump heading into the season at the moment, but it's just something to watch out for. Okay, mad scientist in the building.
What up?
Rice is going to get suspended just in time for the fantasy playoffs. Yeah, and sell high on Judkins. Still going to be a committee.
100%.
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
Again, I just think that where he was going in drafts was like you could still, cash in, potentially cash in a ticket in terms of where he was going. Because, again, in that range, it's like we're talking about guys that are literally either backups, one injury away, or whatever happened. So, I don't think we're so like Judkins trained this, if you got him later in the draft, cool. But not something where it's like, all right, like Judkins at one point was getting drafted around like 7th round. Like, no, that's trash. But as far as Rice goes, yeah, we know a suspension is coming for Rice. It's just all about how many games now, because if it is 6 to 8, which I'm probably now forecasting for now, initially I was forecasting potentially 4 or less because it's going to happen before the season. Now this in-season stuff is definitely getting more murky. I could easily see 6 to 8 now versus wasn't. So, I mean, again, opportunity cost at some point for Rice, hit the button on, because if you have the depth, all you're doing is waiting for the talent for Rice to come along. So that's where that comes. But what John was also saying is that we have to be careful with Rice, because if he does get suspended 6 to 8 games, talk about the bye weeks, talking about this, like, Chiefs have a week 10 bye. There's a bunch of people on week 12 bye. So there's a ton of byes. If he is suspended to 8 games, talk about at least playing the 4 games, and then being suspended to 8 games, talk about at least being out to week 13, right around the times where people are needing it for postseason. So again, if you're drafting Rice to wide receiver 2 at this moment in time, I'd be like, be careful with that. If you're drafting him as a wide receiver 3, that makes total more sense. So it just depends on opportunity cost and where you're overall getting both players in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, just a mix of players that will not be playing. Update AJ Brown. The Eagles are just basically being cautious with AJ Brown's hamstring injury. So nothing at the moment to be worried about there. JJ McCarthy for your Vikings.
Yeah, secondary.
JJ McCarthy not going to be playing the preseason game upcoming. He's looked pretty good when it comes to these joint practices right now, though. So, wheels up potentially in general. Nothing to be really concerned about, so to speak, for these Vikings. Will have to remain to be seen. Josh Downs left practice today with a hamstring injury, so that's something to watch out for. But other than that, just quick hitters in terms of just other guys missing practices, not really. But again, most of these guys, we're not concerned about these guys are in terms of just sitting out preseason week 2, because obviously we know gotta be ready for the week 1 regular season game. So
yes, sir.
But okay, John, it's all yours.
All right. Well, getting ready to share with you guys one of my more disappointing moments in life. Highlights and disappointments, is what we're gonna call this right here, man. This was worse than this was about trying to play everybody's favorite song at a concert. Is what this was like, man. This was absolutely brutal. So this is the roster from the Fans Classic. And at least if I have nothing else to say, I can at least say, hey, man, I got to draft in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. At least I can say that. So just to kind of walk you guys, man, and talk you guys through my draft a little bit. Pick 14. So that was not a lot of fun. I will just be upfront. That was not a lot of fun at all. It was fun, but it wasn't. And I'll just kind of just recap really quickly. The first round we had Bijan, Jamar, CD, Jets, Amon-Ra, Saquon, Malik Neighbors, The place where I started to lose my ever-loving mind. Jahmyr Gibbs at number 8. I cussed and I cussed and I cussed. And I cussed again. Christian McCaffrey at 9, Nico Collins at 10, BTJ at 11, Puka Nacua at 12, because this is a 14-team league, so we're not done. Then, your guy, Devon Achane. So here I am sitting at 14, and I got no choice but to take the big dog. Got to take the big dog, right? No question there. Totally comfortable, totally happy with that pick. I don't hate that pick at all, so I won't spend a lot of time on it. Then I moved to A.J. Brown. And A.J. Brown, I know he's not a volume guy. That's always been a real big concern. And I say a big concern, I say with an asterisk, just because he's played in like run-based offenses, right? Like you could you can make a case that like A.J. Brown, for all intents and purposes here throughout his career, has played with two of the best running backs of this generation, like hands down, like with Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. But he averaged 80 yards. He's averaged 80 yards in all 3 seasons with the Eagles. So like not concerned about that. One of the things that he definitely is he's a man beater. So like, again, like in this format, in this setting, that's what you're looking for. Give me a guy that can beat you in man, give you a guy that can get some volume. Now here's a stat, man, that I think is really, really underrated. And like, I think we've talked about it a little bit with the Eagles. Like we expect for them to be a little bit more pass heavy and not run Saquon in the ground, or whether you believe in like the curse of 370 or whatever the case may be. Last year, A.J. Brown, 900. He had 805 yards in the first 3 quarters. Like that guy had nothing in the fourth quarter because the Eagles were just absolutely dominating people, right? So he had 67 receptions for over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns, and basically didn't play the fourth quarter in damn near every game, and he missed some games as well. So I feel really good about that pick. I think I feel a lot better than other people for sure. So if you're looking for a reason to draft A.J. Brown, I just gave you one, and I'm going to give you another one too. Last year, he's still a deep play and a big play waiting to happen. 98 vertical routes ran last year, 23 targets, 11 receptions, 335 yards, and 5 touchdowns. A.J. Brown still got it, folks. Like, he still got it. Like, don't be a fool. Don't fall victim to it. A.J. Brown is still that dude for sure. So, didn't mind that. Then it got a little bit dicey coming back around, because I won't go into, like, everything again. But pretty much, just to keep this short and sweet, I think actually I looked at it today. I think there were the next 10 picks in the second round were wide receivers. And coming back around, the next, I believe it was 12 picks or 9 were wide receivers as well. So I'm like, well, either A, I can draft a wide receiver and, kind of continue to fall in line with everybody else, or B, I can get different. And I did. I got different, all right. So at that point, I took a very, very polarizing player in Breece Hall. And I'll kind of walk through, man, I got a mosquito that's just floating around in here. It's driving me nuts.
Oh, God.
And like, I know people are all in love with Braylon Allen, and I get it. Like, I get it. I understand. And I'm probably going to catch some heat in the chat. Go ahead and bring the smoke. It's cool. Like Braylon Allen, like growing up, people always used to say, man, if your team sucked, the fan favorite was the backup quarterback. And I think now, like in the world that we live in, it's the backup running back, especially if there's anything there, if there's any potential, right? And Braylon Allen obviously has a ton of potential for sure. But again, like doing some research late last night, like into Breece Hall and, why and like what's going on. I think we know about what he brings in the passing game. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, like they're not going to throw, they're not going to be throwing the ball as much. Okay, well, that's cool too, because like we need Breece to run the ball. Like we need him to get, carries. Like that's what we need. Okay, well, even if the Jets, and I'm not trying to, completely crap on your team, but like, if the Jets are bad, they're going to be throwing the ball. And if they're going to be throwing the ball, then who's going to be on the field? Is it going to be Braylon Allen or is it going to be Breece Hall? Probably going to be Breece Hall, right? So, all right, so there we go again. He also still has got some burst, man. Like I was looking, he hit 15 15 miles per hour a couple times last year, actually more times last year than he did the previous year. So I thought that was interesting with obviously with the ball. He hit 20 miles a couple times, like 3 times, but some really interesting stats for me. And I think this is just kind of like common sense and like not getting like muddied down like with a lot of things. With Breece Hall last year, he had 134 attempts outside the tackles, and he averaged 4.7 yards and 628 yards running outside the tackles. So I think like there's something to be said, right? And maybe that's the role for Braylon Allen. Maybe Braylon Allen is maybe the guy that runs inside and maybe is the banger, but Breece Hall still has some juice. Like he's still got it. And then the other thing, like I looked at as well, my man,
Billy in the house,
my man. Oh, I love it. The other thing too, I thought it was really interesting was his yards per carry. When he was in shotgun and in pistol formation was clear over 4.7 yards and 4.3 yards. So obviously I think, with Justin Fields being a quarterback, like they're going to operate in the shotgun. They're going to operate in the pistol. Right. And then last year, the Jets didn't Jets didn't run the ball. Like they were dead last in the amount of in the league for the amount of run plays that happened. And then just another interesting stat, and I'll shut up with him. But the Jets last year, when they were trailing, Breece Hall had 99 carries for 478 yards or 476 yards and was averaging 4.8 yards per carry. So the moral of the story is like, I know that a lot of people feel a certain way about him, like this, that, and the third, but there's still a path for him, man. And like I think he's still going to be a viable fantasy option. It's just obviously it's intimidating when you see a big, fast running back like Braylon Allen, but like we've seen this story before with like a lot of guys that are the backup running back, and like they look really good, and they're good because they're a change of pace, right? So that was one for sure that I was like, okay, like whatever. And then Omarion Hampton took him after that. Like that is absolutely purely an upside pick. Again, 14-team league, wide receivers are being gobbled up, trying to figure out a way to get different. And I think like one of the things for me with Omarion Hampton is did some research, and I want to throw some things out here for us. Greg Roman, just from 2017 to 2022, this is his time with the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not going to read you off the list of all the running backs, but I'm going to read you off a list of the leading rushers, not named Lamar Jackson from 2017 to 2022. Blast from the past. You remember Alex Collins?
God, yo. Oh, my gosh.
Yo,
I'm just
saying. Right? Yeah, Lex Collins. Then we had the Gus Bus.
We had the Gus Bus.
We had the Gus Bus in 2018. The Mark Ingram in 2019 coming from New Orleans, right? Which he was a great value for fantasy.
He was a great value.
Then what do? Then they turn around and they draft J.K. Dobbins in 2020. Well, the Ravens did, right? Like this is what it is. J.K. Dobbins was their leading rusher and in the running back room, they still had Mark Ingram. They still had the Gus Bus. So, like, that makes me feel optimistic about Omarion Hampton and his situation. 2021, Lamar Jackson was the leading rusher, no question. And then J.K. Dobbins in 2022. So my point, like, the point I'm trying to make is, like, I know people are a little bit hesitant about Omarion Hampton and obviously Slater going down with the injury, for the season. But, like, there's still plenty of room and there's still plenty of role. And all those names that I read off, like, maybe Mark Ingram Mark Ingram was probably the most talented guy in college, but J.K. Dobbins was probably the best, like, pro back that was there. And I think Omarion Hampton is better than every name on that list. So, so for me, like, that's another one, like, I feel okay about. Coming back around, I had to do something wide receiver because I was starting to get smoked. And I'll stop there. But if I had to do this draft over again, the one place that I would be really upset with myself was with the Breece and Omarion Hampton picks. Like I like both of those guys a lot, but I'm really upset. I only needed one, and knowing what I know now and being able to get Bo Nix, if I was able to get Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton, I would have been ecstatic about that. But I had no idea the quarterback was going to play out the way that it did in that draft. Hey man, it happens, whatever. So at that point, I had to get aggressive. And I went to Mecca Ibuka, which obviously he's everybody's favorite guy right now from Ohio State. Maybe Travion Henderson, depending on who you ask. But again, another situation, right, where it's like, well, what do we know? Like, what do we think? And I found that this is just great info, man. Like, do you know how many routes Sterling Shepard ran last year for the Tampa Bay Bucks? Just routes, not targets, but how many routes he ran? Just stabs.
70.
Oh no, not targets, like routes. Like he actually like ran
routes.
Routes.
Yeah.
Like maybe he didn't
70.
get the target. No, dude, Sterling Shepard ran
40?
300. Dude, he ran 321 routes last year for the Tampa Bay.
Wow.
Dude.
Wow. I didn't feel
that's
wasn't
Sterling,
that memorable, I guess.
Yeah, right. That's Sterling Shepard. So Emeka Egbuka is way better than Sterling Shepard, right? Jalen McMillan had 356. Mike Evans had 383, and Godwin had 228. Obviously, he had the injury. So what that's telling me, right, is that, hey, man, if you're telling me that if Emeka Egbuka can show up to Tampa Bay and be Sterling Shepard and run 321 routes at minimum, bro, like if he's everything that everybody is saying he is, like that's a great pick. But like we'll have to see, right? Then obviously my guy Seti Tillman. I think everybody knows I'm a big fan of his. And then my boy Caleb Johnson. I'm just gonna spend a little bit of time on him, and then hey, right, I agree. Listen, I agree. But guess what? That's fair. But Tampa Bay was a top 12 offense in passing the ball last year. So if Emeka Egbuka can get on the field and he just needs opportunity, the opportunity is there. Like wide receiver floors don't win routes, Philly. Yeah, I know. Jeez, for crying out loud. So
yeah,
just really,
he asked who got Courtland Sutton in their draft because he was obviously too.
It's probably him. Probably that's probably why he's being a jerk about it. But just real quick, like with Caleb Johnson, and then like we'll figure out, like I'll get to who drafted Courtland Sutton. But with Caleb Johnson, I know you were just talking about the things that Tomlin just said, but history has proven itself, right? Le'Veon Bell from 2013 to 2017. I love him. Lev Bell had over 240 rushing attempts minus the year in 2015 where he got hurt, and he only played in 6 games. So again, like been constantly talking about Caleb Johnson in his 250 or 200 and something carries that are there. James Conner never hit more than 14 games after that when he filled in for Lev Bell. He had some good moments, but he just could not stay healthy and stay upright. Obviously, they drafted Najee Harris after that, and Najee never had less than 255 carries. So, like, the space is there for Caleb Johnson, like, for sure. Like, it's there. And then on top of that, Jalen Warren's never exceeded 150 carries. So either one or two things, right? Either, there's going to be a third back that's going to emerge, or either.
Don't say that.
No, it's like I'm being honest. Like I'm being honest for the world, right? Like either there's a third back that emerges, right, or either Caleb Johnson is going to be that guy, and Jalen Warren is going to continue to be a change of pace guy and a third down guy. And the last ingredient in this is not the head coach. So I don't want everybody this guy. I don't want everybody going nuts when I say this, but Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator, not the head coach. The offensive coordinator, he's always been in the top 10 in the league as far as rushing attempts, and he's consistently been in the top 11 with rushing yards. Stop overthinking it. Like, they're going to run the football. And this is a match made in heaven. Get over what happened with Bijan Robinson. Get over the fact that Tyler Algier is an okay back in the league, and, like, he did take him out at the goal line. Get over it. Like, they're going to run the ball. It's going to be a value. The Steelers' offensive line is better. Get over it. So, so that's my team.
Take it and shove it.
No, it ain't even it's just get over it, man. It's just like, hey, like, this is what it is, right? So obviously I had to hammer wide receiver later on in the draft, bro. Romeo Doubs, Pat Bryant, able to pick up Torrey Horton and got Brandon Ayuk as well. Cam Ward's one of my favorite late round guys, like best ball, super flex, whatever. And then Brashard Smith. So you don't have to tell me that this team is not very good, because I am very well aware that this team is not ideally not my best work.
It's a 14-team league, so it's like you got, like, I think people have to understand in the context of 14 teams, you got to understand that most times, you're not going to like your team because you're going to have to sacrifice something, right?
Yeah.
You have to sacrifice something where, again, you sacrificed, a good wide receiver 2 or 3, just because that's how the draft goes. Because again, that third flex spot, it's because of that third flex spot, really, because we're talking about 14 team and an extra flex. So even if you had an extra flex and a 12 team, you still could probably ride it pretty decently.
Yeah.
With a 14 team league and that third flex was starting 3 receivers, I imagine receivers are going to obviously fall off the board very quickly. So that's where, again, like how I saw it for you was I think it's still solid because you're grabbing your guys you want, obviously. Yeah. But I think where, like you already know where you so-called.
Yeah, the crash out moment. The crash out moment was
I like that.
The crash out moment was like there in the 4th round. Like that was the crash out moment, And I was like, oh, damn, because that 14, that's a long way. And like these guys are also, man, they're dogs too, man. Like it's not your typical home league with 14, 14 teams. Like these guys are locked in, like they're aware, like they pay attention, like they know stuff. So like, it is what it is. Like I truly still think obviously like the Emeka Ibuka pick, just continuing to kind of dig through those Tampa Bay stats, like gives me some bit of solace, like at wide receiver, to be able to have a potential stud. It gives me some bit of solace.
When you search that waiver wire,
oh man, listen, man, I was digging through them numbers last night, man, digging through them, bro. So I mean, like with that, man, like you had, we also had draft night out. You had a 12-team PPR league, on your side of things. So. Tell us a little bit about like your team, or let us see what you got going on with that one, man.
All right, so Michael Irvin's draft that out. So Michael Irvin's, this is a 12-team, full PPR overall league, and the overall how I see it really is, honestly, I really thought I killed the draft. And that's not something like, that's not like a oh yeah, I'm the man type of thing. It's just the board kind of fell to me how I kind of wanted to fall to me. Sometimes the board doesn't fall to you, John. How you want it to fall to you. But at pick 8 at 12 team, we have to start 2 receivers, there's 2 flex, there's 2 running backs. My strategy really overall was to grab a guy I love, Devon Achane, number 8 overall. What I didn't expect was Derrick Henry to fall to me at 2.5. What a gift. What a gift that was.
That's crazy work.
And just because at 3.38 Lamar shouldn't have been there, I took him there. Normally I like to wait at QB because QB is so deep this year in terms of single QB leagues. You can start whoever you really want. But I went with Lamar because I know him and Derrick Henry. It's kind of like a safe way to get exposure, because for whatever, hopefully it doesn't happen. But Derrick Henry goes down, whatever.
Don't you say that.
I have my team. I don't want him to go down either. I'm just saying, hypothetically, if it happens, Lamar Jackson I still have access to this Ravens team that still should be a really good offense through Lamar. So that's where, again, I thought it was just a falling value in terms of where Lamar went. The rest of the board, can I do this right? The rest of the board after here, right? So by Allen, Walker, receivers, Rashee Rice went the 4-1 in this draft, which I was a little surprised about. But that team already had London and Tyreek Hill, so that makes sense.
Right.
For me, once again, Marion Hampton at the 4.5. That's 40. That's pick 45 overall. That's a screaming value. I'll take it. Thank you. At that point, I didn't care if I was going to be behind a receiver, because I feel like I could clean up pretty well a receiver, especially at 12 team. So moving forward, I think my next pick was I was hoping that The player I was hoping to probably grab later was ironically enough like Rashee Rice, but he didn't. And I was maybe expecting maybe DJ Moore because I don't know. Sometimes you don't know. This is the tier of receivers. I feel like after the old heads go, so like Adams, Hill, Mike Evans. After that, it kind of becomes like a cluster of receivers where you could really sprinkle throughout the rest of that fourth round, that early fifth round into the sixth, where it's like there's guys that are just going to be flip-flopping in all people's rankings and tiers and stuff like that. So for me, I was hoping that maybe, a Devontae Smith or even a Jalen Waddle even would fall, but I was really happy that George Pickens fell to me at 5'8". I know he's not a so-called wide receiver one, but he's someone that I still value in terms of the offense that he's in. He's going to be in a Dallas offense that literally is going to be chucking the football. Dak Prescott, I know you don't like Dakota Prescott, but
Dakota Rain. It's all good.
And in terms of this Dallas offense, like I just don't. My outlook on them is that they still have to play. Their defense is not going to be as potent. They're still going to be chucking the ball a ton. That running game is, who knows, because there's all different names going on. We have, Javonte Williams, is it Jaden Blue, is it Miles Sanders when he gets back? So there's a lot of different ways this running back room is looking really weird. Do they even trade for someone? There was a lot of talk about that. So my thinking was at least grab a guy that I feel good about and a good offense that should project well in terms of them chucking the football, getting targets. And that's what I did with my next couple of picks. Chris Olave, the 6'5". I was hoping for Ridley to come back. He didn't. Hoping for Jameson Williams to come back. He didn't. So I was like, you know what? Let me go Olave because the other guys that I saw on the board, I was like, I'm not in love. I'm not in love with Jerry Jeudy. Addison spent already 3 games. Jacoby Myers I could have went with, but I thought it was still a little too soon to go with him. So those were kind of my options at that moment. So I was like, let me go grab Olave because I do think I still believe in the talent. I believe in Kellen Moore. He's always adjusted his offenses based on where he is. So my assumption is that this Kellen Moore offense of the Saints, it's going really under the radar, in my opinion. For Kellen Moore's offenses, he's always been a top 10 in terms of his offenses. I'm not expecting the Saints to be anything particular. It's just people are scared about the QB situation. People are scared of Alvin Kamara maybe falling off a cliff, whatever, which is possible too. But I believe in Chris Olave. I do believe in Rashid Shaheed. Both those guys are going at extreme values in drafts right now. So to get Olave at 6'5", I was definitely happy. But what I was even more happy about was Deebo Samuel falling to me at the 7'8". I'm like,
oh, you bet.
Okay.
You officially a Deebo guy this year, man.
Might as well just the league might as well give me this check so I can get an early deposit on this because Deebo Samuel falling to the 7'8". Look, man, Deebo was someone I was kind of on the fence about in terms of how people were going to view him. He was a wide receiver 43 last year after all the the season long finish, by the way. Wide receiver 43. So there was definitely I think people are still believing in a talent like Deebo, but I don't know because until you get in some of these rooms, you don't really have a feel sometimes for certain people on who they like and whatever. So Deebo Samuel falling to me there was an absolute gift because that was kind of I know I could have went at Mecca Buka. I definitely like him too, but I think with Terry McLaurin still not in camp, there's still going to be ways to utilize Deebo Samuel. He's someone that when he had the wide receiver 2 overall finish in 2021, he was utilized obviously in the run game, of course, too. But obviously we know Deebo is run after a catch guy. Commanders were 6th in terms of short area screens, in terms of being utilized in that route. So, they are a quick, quick firing offense, RPO offense. So Deebo fits the bill on that. And then again, McLaurin not in camp. I'm sure he'll sign before the season. But people are still not putting in their heads, I feel, with Deebo and how this could crystallize into something that's a screaming value in some of these drafts and someone that could easily finish as a top 15 receiver overall.
Can I say something real quick?
Of course you can.
You said Debo 2021. Just want to throw out something real quick. Top hip hop albums in 2021.
Oh my gosh.
The off-season J. Cole, Certified Lover Boy Drake, King's Disease 2, Donda from Ye.
Donda.
Yeah. Moneybag Yo, A Gangsta's Pain.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done. If you want to go back to 2021, I'll go back there with you. You know what I mean? I figure I'll throw it out there.
Listen, man, there was a few decent albums back then.
Yeah.
But appreciate that. But I would say with Debo, it's he's someone that in this build you're very excited to have. Potential opportunity for him to go off. So there was that. My next pick was going to be someone I really, really adore, and he got sniped from me. Both of these guys, I feel. Emeka Egbuka and Jaden Reed both got sniped from me. And I was like, well, there goes that. I thought about maybe if Pollard came back, that'd be at 2, but nope. Sniped for me too. So my next pick was someone I wanted to, really invest in. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that I could have went Pearsall there, could have been Diggs there. You know what I'm saying? But I was, I was really intrigued by, the last month or so, I've really turned up and cranked up on Tyler Warren and the possibility of him being a, potential. I'm not saying that he's going to be, Brock Bowers per se, but I don't want to miss out on that. If that is to come to fruition. Shane Steichen's always a very creative head coach from an offensive perspective. I know the quarterback situation looks icky. However, I just want Tyler Warren. He doesn't have to, and in this roster we'll get to, he doesn't have to exactly start at the moment. It's just more on I just want him, and then we'll see what happens because I do think he's an uberly talented tight end coming out. The senior breakout, all the touchdowns he had this past, in his college season, the way he could potentially be utilized and deployed. Like, I think Tyler Warren is uberly talented and, great players, talented players. You find ways to get in the ball. So I think Tyler Warren's going to be one of those guys.
And he's probably the third string quarterback too. Yeah, well, actually, probably the second string quarterback at this point. So
I don't know. I'm not temper my expectations, but all right, maybe third string. Maybe third string for sure.
Yeah, the third best quarterback on the roster.
But after Tyler Warren, it was just grabbing some guys that made sense for the rest of the build, right? So Jaden Higgins, haven't been on him enough in my opinion.
That's a good one. I like that.
But I was like, because I'm already behind the receiver in this room, let me grab a guy that I was hoping for. Again, the Tyler Warren pick wasn't, was really supposed to be one of these two guys. Yeah. But what is what it is. I'll take Higgins. I think that Houston's offensive line, it doesn't look great on paper. But I do believe with CJ Stroud, I do believe he can get the ball out and and get the ball to his, at least complement at least 2 pass catchers in this offense. So I'll take Higgins here. I think the spot where I took him at was very, very justifiable. And I'll take that. I was really hoping for Sharps to come back to me, or take Bigsby, and both of them didn't. So I went with someone that I was like, I've been intrigued with, but not someone I've been putting a stamp on because I really would like him in a build like what I'm doing. That's Keon Coleman.
I like him.
Buffalo, it's Joshua Palmer or it's Keon Coleman, I think.
Yeah,
in terms of
sure. No doubt.
With Kincaid involved. But I do think it's got to be one of those guys, Palmer or Coleman. And I decided just in this situation, because I've gone with Palmer several more times than not in some of my other drafts, I'll just take Coleman because I do think as a wide receiver 5 here, if he starts catching on, he makes my lineup. And we'll see what happens from that after that. So the rest of the draft was, pretty decent because I thought Dylan Sampson, where he went with at the draft, 11A is crazy value. He went after Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. the guy they're calling
Bill.
No,
Bill.
Bill.
Yeah.
So
Bill.
yeah, Bill. That must be it's a nickname for college, right?
I just heard him call him Bill. They just said it was his nickname. I was like,
all right, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think Dylan Sampson, like even if we're talking about Judkins coming back now,
right,
getting more in the fold, he went in this draft 9-12. So it's like, you know, but with Sampson, I do think that regardless, he should have a role.
Yeah.
Even if Judkins comes back, and even though he comes back as a miracle boy, or whatever, I think Dylan Sampson could still have a role in this offense. Probably just edging out Jerome Ford constantly. And then Ferguson was a crazy value.
Yeah, Jake Ferguson at that point.
I was like, what is up? What is going on? Like, you know, I I went with Pickens or whatever, but I'm like, I still want exposure to this Dallas offense because I do think they're an offense that's going to keep firing. You know, offensively. So it was weird. It was Pitts, Goddard, and Ferguson going really late. I was like, this is really weird. So I was like, let me just hedge my bet on Tyler Warren because maybe the first 4 weeks or whatever he comes on a little slow or whatever, something like that. Could still start Jake Ferguson here. So it was great. And then I went Drake May because even in 1 QB builds outside, if I don't have Lamar, I like Drake May as my starter at the moment because he goes really late. Ideally, obviously, I want my boy Justin Fields. But depending on the room, he goes up higher than where Drake May normally goes. So it depends on what people's flavor is. The case for Drake May, and then obviously as a backup, the case for Drake May in general, though, is that, you know, New England's offensive line should get a little bit better. Mike Vrabel, he knows the New England way. That defense could be better as well. Schedule-wise, gets easier for the Patriots. They're a top 10, one of the easiest schedules upcoming in the league. Drake May finishing out the year pretty well statistically. There's a lot to love about Drake May, especially when he goes at 13-8 as your backup quarterback.
I know, like one thing, like I'll jump in real quick on May. Like I think like there's a couple of other elements. Obviously, I'm up here in New England, dude. One of the things like I'd say is I think just Josh McDaniels, right? Like one of the things like I've been saying this and telling people, it's like, man, like he's gonna scheme and it's gonna look different every single week, like for who their opponent is. Some weeks is maybe it's like the receivers, some weeks maybe it's the tight end, some weeks maybe it's the running back, some weeks maybe it's Drake May in the running game. But I think there was a stat that I seen. I don't have it with me right now, but it was just like a stat that when Josh McDaniels was the offensive coordinator, when Cam Newton was playing quarterback, about how efficient Cam Newton was as a runner. And so now to be able to bring that kind of efficiency and that kind of play design and that play calling to a guy like Drake May, given what he's got now, because Cam Newton didn't have any weapons there in New England, like at that point in time. So I think to your point, like as a backup quarterback in a 12 team, that's great value for sure, man. So I dig that.
The next pick was someone that, I just hope he becomes volume dependent, and that's Wan'Dale Robinson. He's someone that I haven't, gotten much of outside of like, best ball or whatever. But he's someone for this Giants offense outside of Neighbors is going to be, at least in line for some decent workload. Whether that's Wan'Dale Robinson, whether that's Darius Slayton, who ironically got a contract extension.
Yeah, no,
after this guy, and last couple of years, Slayton, they're gonna get rid of Slayton, they're gonna trade him away, they don't like him, somehow gets a contract extension over the offseason. But hey, it could be Slayton. And I really like Theo Johnson. I do think that potentially that could happen. I just know Russell Wilson doesn't always check to the tight ends enough. So that's something that, I think that's someone just to watch out for, put him on your watch list, but you don't have to necessarily draft per se. And then Woody Marks, someone that I watched some tape on Woody Marks at USC. He's definitely shifty. So we'll see how it unfolds, because I know Nick Chubb's going to most likely get his first crack and stuff like that on Nick Chubb, and if he has more left in him or whatever and stuff like that. But I do think that Woody Marks can, beat out Dario Gumbawale for a third down work. So remains to be seen just how that goes. But I was like, let me just grab Woody Marks because he's probably, someone that I just want to see what happens with. Worst case scenario, he's not making an impact, and I can always drop him. So, And then kicker defense. I mean, McPherson was someone that was, I just grabbing kickers who are tied to good offenses. Sometimes either good offenses or at least offenses that get towards, the opposing 30-yard line. So McPherson, Cincinnati is going to be scoring a ton of points projectedly. Answer or not, McPherson is a great kicker. So
I'm about to get ready to stop you from talking about kickers. You better stop.
I was done.
you better stop talking about kickers.
I was done, by the way. I was done.
Stop talking about kickers.
And then San Francisco was a defense that I liked because they're going to be, in terms of their offenses, they're going to want to eat, cupcake matchups on paper, and that should translate to the Niners, defense just not only being better, but Robert Saleh is back as defensive coordinator. So him, at the reins again should be very interesting. And a bunch of Fred Warners and all your other people up there in that defense. Solid. So that's what I had for it in terms of this team, this roster. I honestly thought I really did really well. My only thing was probably if I were to go back. I mean, if I were to go back again, I'd probably potentially, could take Emeka Buka over Debo, but it's not really an error in my opinion. Yeah. We'll just see what happens.
Yeah.
But people are like, you got 3 running backs in the first 4 rounds. I went robust RB. That's fine. I think that where Hampton went was just criminal. So I was like, I'm just not going to go and grab a receiver just for the sake of grabbing a receiver, especially if the guy that I really wanted was not there. Now it was Rashee Rice for me. It was like, don't get me wrong. I love DJ Moore. I like your boy Courtland Sutton. I like Metcalf. They're just guys I don't love. And Marion Hampton, to solidify my running back room, just made a lot more sense to me.
Yeah, well, I think there's that, especially I think one of the things too, you talk about robust running back, and I think you talk about 0 RB and stuff like that. One of the bills that ironically enough has actually yielded me a little bit of success. It yielded me success last year in the Sirius XM Do Good Listener League was believe it was Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, and Devon Achane. And so I was a little light at wide receiver, but you can be light at wide receiver, and obviously that's a little bit different. That's a Superflex league. But when you take an approach like that and you load up at running backs and all the running backs hit and your quarterback does all those things, right? That's a different approach. I don't think people talk enough about, or have talked enough about. I know obviously talking about the 14-team league and I love it. You got to do that stuff, right? You got to, especially with the mobile QBs, you got to kind of you got to be able to get in on them a little bit, for sure. So, yeah, dude, I think that's a pretty solid draft for you, man. Just given what you did, as far as going robust running back, getting a mobile quarterback, still being able to address wide receiver, and not just address it, but being able to get receivers that are going to be able to give you something on the field. So, I think that was a pretty solid draft for you, man, for sure.
Let's see if we can bring it home.
All right, let's see here. So I got let's see here. I gotta find this bad boy. Let's see. Make sure I get rid of that one. All right. So let's see here. So I had a Superflex draft right after the most aggressive draft ever of my life. Literally, I was like, oh my God, dude. Yeah. So for me, I was picking in the 12 spot again. Can't shake it. Can't shake it. But this was really weird to me. Bro, you tell me I get to start out any fantasy football draft in America with Justin Jefferson. Done. Done. I literally was gushing. I couldn't have pressed the button quick enough to get Jefferson at 112. Literally I couldn't. I was like, oh my God. However, it did leave me with some really interesting choices after that, because I ended up taking Devon Achane. Give you shit about him all the time. but like obviously in this format, I'm like, all right, like if I'm not going to take a quarterback in the first 2 rounds, like I need to go with like the highest ceiling guys that I can possibly get my hand on that are PPR guys, and it was Achane. So I'm happy about that pick. I have no complaints about it, like at all. I thought about taking Derrick Henry.
Are you
Because,
smiling?
yeah, yeah, I thought about taking Derrick Henry again, but I was like, oh my god, I was like, if I take Derrick Henry again, I am like a raging psychopath, and I am, and I'm here for it. But I didn't. And then like from there, I knew I was like, all right, like one of the big rules, like I know with Superflex and just in general, like when you do a Superflex league is, hey man, like you got to get at least one quarterback in the first 3 rounds, man. First 3 or 4 rounds, you got to get a quarterback. So I stand on business with my boy Caleb Williams. A lot of people I know have very polarized, and I've talked about him on the show more than more than a few times for sure. And just some like I know we were talking with somebody over the weekend, and they were like, oh, like it's about him holding on to the ball. Well, it is. It's about him holding on to the ball. But like last year, whenever he was able to get the ball out in under 2.5 seconds, 77% completion percentage, 11th highest in the NFL. I think Ben Johnson knows that. And I think you're going to see a lot of timing things. I think you're going to see a lot of quick things with him, a lot of things that like he doesn't have to process. It's just, hey, like the design's going to be there. The ball's going to get out. So I feel really good about that for sure. So like Caleb Williams, man, like I'm here for it all season long. And then I just ran a quick stack with DJ Moore. Reason why is because for me, in any number one, like you talked about those wide receivers in that group. This is that group. So in this group, it was DJ Moore, Marvin Harrison, T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, JSN, Tyreek, and Mike Evans. Like you could grab any of those guys and say, hey, like this is the first guy like I'll take. The only guy I wouldn't have would have been Reek. But like the rest of them, like you can make a case for any of those guys. And DJ Moore, I think DJ Moore is so back, dude, this year, like with the Chicago Bears. I think he's so back. Obviously Keenan Allen's gone now, so like there'll be a lot of movement between him and Adunze as far as being able to move both of them around the formation. And I think we know what DJ Moore can do with the ball in his hands. So I feel good about that. And then I was able to get my guy, JJ.
Your
McCarthy.
guy is right.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So like for me, this was I'm like, oh my god, like to start off this draft, like I have a lot of the guys that like I'm really, really excited about this year with JJ McCarthy and Caleb Williams and Justin Jefferson. And then I get to get my guy George Pickens. So now like my receiver room is really starting to my receiver room is really starting
better than the last one.
It's starting to come together for sure with Jefferson, Moore, and Pickens. So I really love that. Then I was able to come back around and grab like you talked about Olave. You spent a lot of time talking about him, so I won't hammer on it too much. But Olave was a guy that I drafted in a lot of places last year as well. So again, feel good about that. And then JMO was still hanging out right
crazy.
there at 8-1.
That's crazy, yo.
Yeah. So like now
even a super flex, that's crazy.
Yeah. So that's like he's hanging out there. So again, like that's like I don't have any complaints about the way this is shaking out for me. Like at this point, like I don't have anybody that I'm like, oh man, like I wish I had. Like these are all guys that like, yo, man, I slept like a baby. Like, you know what I mean? Like with these players here. Still able to get some good value with Evan Ingram. I think a lot of people obviously have him ranked as, a potential top 5 player at the position. Love the Denver offense. Again, didn't really get a chance to go into a lot of the Bo Nix stats. When we had the segment earlier about the 14-team flex, but I'll just say one of the things that he is crazy good at, and it made sense the moment like I seen some of these stats and it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, yeah, like he's going to be better than what people think. A lot of his work last year was done outside of the pocket. I think he might have had like the most yards or like the highest. I think it was like the most yards in NFL history, like outside of the pocket as far as passing yards. Now, I'm going to find it now just because. He had 904 passes while being 904 yards while being outside of the pocket. So I think like seeing guys like Evan Ingram like here and like knowing what that's going to look like. that I'm really excited for that pick for sure. And then obviously I only have one running back at this point. So like I got to get ready to hammer running back. A lot of guys here that I love. Jordan Mason, again, I said, screw it, man. Might as well go all in on the Vikings, baby. You know what I mean? Like, what do we got to lose? So I got everything Minnesota, you know what I mean, here in this situation. So I like that. Grab my third quarterback with Aaron Rodgers just because you need a third quarterback, obviously.
Yeah,
And
you do.
at this point, like, hey, man, like if he just ends up being okay, like that's still a really good value. And then Dylan Sampson at 12-11, Jaden Blue, couple of rookies that like they have a path to get snaps and opportunities. So that's obviously good. Talked about the Saints, and I think I kind of made a joke with you during the weekend is leaving a couple of drafts with multiple Browns and multiple Saints feels really dirty, especially on one team. So leaving this draft with multiple Browns felt a little dirty. So got my guy Cedric Tillman again. I think everybody knows how I feel about him. Got Chig. Again, like I think the Tennessee offense, and I think there's already been reports of Cam Ward and just his leadership there in that building. I think I seen something today where he'd pulled everybody off the field, just holding them accountable. So I'm like, all right, like that's what I'm digging is that right there. So like Chig, I think, we talk about tight ends that could potentially break out, and like players that are like on the back end of things as far as that position goes. And I think Chig and that Tennessee Titan offense has got some stuff. I'll show you some love. Fifth quarter podcast. Yeah, baby. Brashard Smith. Been leaving every draft I could with him over the weekend. Because I was like, listen, at least if my teams are going to stink, at least I'm going to take me a damn shot on the Andy Reid running back, which it's funny. Was drafting with sports. Oh God, sport. I'm terrible with names and shit, dude. Sports Vision, Better Vision, or Sports Vision
Brett.
Better. Yeah.
Brett. Shout out to Brett.
Brett. Yeah, Brett. We were just kind of we were just sitting there, man.
And that's the homie right there.
Yeah, no, he's good people, bro. Good people. We're just sitting there talking, and like one of the things that Andy Reid has been missing, just over the last handful of years, is he has been missing that back that can do a little bit of everything. And like maybe it's not week 1, week 2, or anything like that, but maybe he is what Isaiah Pacheco was a couple of years ago coming down the stretch. Like he could be a guy that could help you get over the hump and help you be a league winner. So also got him in the Fans Classic. So I hope to God he turns into something for sure. I'm not going to do a Nick impression to talk about kickers and defenses because I feel like that's just beneath me. So, I'm not.
They are people too, okay?
Yeah, they are people. But listen, I strongly disdain and I won't do that. But yeah, like I think like overall for me, like I just like I really, really like this team here. Walked away feeling a lot better about this team and about the build that it has. Like I think one of the more common themes for me this weekend that like I had no idea that like that was going to happen for me. I walked away with both drafts with like a lot of rookies, and that was not on my scorecard. And then obviously like for the 10 hours of sleep that I did get in those 2 days, I started to think. I was like,
sleep?
Yeah, never heard of her. I started to think. And I'm going to just throw out a hot take like right now because I'm in my bag. But last year, obviously, Bucky Irving was the only guy that really popped at running back. And last year, it was the wide receivers that popped last year. What if it is the running backs that all pop off this year? What if it is all of the running? What if it is all the running backs that pop off this year? The writing is there's so like – that there's so many talented running backs, but then there's so many good running backs in situations that like there's a clear path to being on the field. So this is what I was trying to tell myself about my Fans Classic was I was like, all right, like let me talk myself down from this. But it just made me think that like maybe it's not a bad thing that you're leaving a draft with a handful of rookies, especially like at the running back position, not like obviously like dynasty. I think we all know what that is, right? But yeah, man, like I feel pretty good, man. Yeah, it is, bro. It's deep at running back, man. It's deep.
Right.
It definitely is. So, so that's what I got, man. So, with that being said, well, I always get stuff about with that being said, but Expo tips. Expo, just kind of like mild recap here, like the last like 5 or so, because yeah, we're doing pretty good. 5 minutes here. What's Expo takeaways?
In terms of what?
Just in general, whether it's drafts, whether it was just
Okay.
like the time, like whatever, man.
Look, if you went at Expo, I got to meet someone in the fantasy sports community that literally someone probably grew up on. Andy Behrens, formerly of Yahoo Sports. And I tell you what, man, like Andy was someone that I definitely was one of the first people, obviously, to, endure some content for the fantasy sports community and fantasy football in general. And, what a class act of a man. Literally maybe like a couple minutes about football, but the rest of it really was like just getting to know the man personally, and what he's done in the industry, and also like what he's doing now, and just all of it in between, and just sharing just life stories and stuff too, because honestly, like it's about fantasy football too, of course, but most times it's coming together, meeting some people that you either haven't seen or you've wondered about or whatever, and just having some great conversation and banter, and making friends, and literally doing your best to stay in touch with them, because literally it's like I told people it's like a family reunion you want to go to.
Absolutely.
Because that's where it comes about. But honestly, besides you and I having a crazy ass time, my brother from another mother, literally was just like seeing some people that you saw last year, and it's like you said, just you made it, you made it, like let's go.
Yeah.
So shout out to everybody that we saw and had engagement with, from the ladies in the industry and stuff like that, and just talking with them, and just having a nice banter with them too about their rosters and stuff too, and to the experts in the industry who have done it year in and year out, and really just not only just knowledgeable but also just fun. It's like again, these people you think are sometimes they may have a little bit of ego, whatever, or something like that. Really wasn't like that, what I'm saying, like at all, with most of these people that we talk to. So some people pace themselves in terms of drinks or whatever, or having fun, whatever. Some people had to do panels and stuff, but everybody what we met there was like really, really, it was a vibe. And again, if you have not gone to the Fantasy Football Expo, like come out next year for real. Like we'll send out reminders about that constantly, because our boy Scott Fish we saw everywhere. Like, you're everywhere, you're everywhere, like you're everywhere.
And just like just to like double down on that, right? Like, man, like my kids, they're like Scott Fish is like that's like the biggest thing, like they know, right? Is like they're like, oh, like like he's famous and this and that. And like, man, he's like, like you were saying, like, dude, he took the time, man, to do like a video for me to be able to send to my kids and like name drop them and stuff like that. And my kids were like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So, and like, just like, again, like good human, man, like all the way across the board. I think too, like, meeting some of the other people, JJ from late round quarterback, man.
My guy JJ's
that like, just like that conversation was just, that was fire. Like that was a game changer. And then, man, shout out the cookout, man. Just the whole cookout crew, man. Like, like shout out, man. Jagger, man, Alfredo, like Marcus, like
Tip.
you know what I mean? Chris, Tip, man, had a great time chopping it up with him, man. Just good people, man. Like just overall. So like that was really that was one thing, man, for me. And then like, guys like, Rich Rebar, and then, Coop, like it was just like, it was definitely. And then, listen, last year, man, the Fantasy Football Expo, it gave us Joe Freak. This year it gave us Philly. You know what I mean? It gave us him, gave us Philly, Brandon, then the young money, young moolah out there,
Oh my gosh,
man. Like, oh man, like just
Jameson,
yeah, Jameson, yo, straight up. Oh man, that guy, man, bringing the heat, bro.
Yo, he won the Justin Jefferson signed jersey, though.
I see that, man. But no, like I think like just a great opportunity, right, to continue to keep networking, right? But most importantly, man, just like building like authentic relationships, I think is really like the biggest thing, like for me, like is what that was. And just then ready to come back, man, get in the lab, start grinding for the seasoning, just getting better at our craft, man. That's what it is, bro. So like, yeah, definitely had a great time. And I think it was definitely less about like the drafts and the tactics and stuff, but it was more about just the engagement with people, for sure. So
Grandpa Dry in the chat.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I shout out to Richard Latham. Like, good Lord.
Yeah.
He was like, yo, like, you gotta get in this IDP league. It's free, it's best ball. Like, I don't know, man. I'm already in enough leagues. Like, it's best ball. Do it one time.
And
why not? Why not? It's best ball, it's free, like whatever. IDP, 22 rounds of IDP. We're still doing it right now. But man, I was like, you know what? I was like, this only helps my knowledge defensively, right?
So, bro, I ain't played in an IDP league since I had braids, bro.
That's a long time ago.
A long time, man. Oh shit. But no, we've already talked about it. I've actually oh shit, man.
Okay.
Oh, I love it, man. Oh God. But no, like Nick was saying, man, like man, we got some bangers playing for y'all, man, for sure. So be on the lookout. We weren't able to do the show on Monday because we just had to get our life together again. But so that's why we're here tonight. So we will be back on Monday at 8 p.m. with some heat. Appreciate all the love, man. Been kind of keeping an eye on the ticker up here, man. We actually hit over 100 views tonight, so definitely much appreciation for that right there. Like, we got a lot of love and a lot of support from just the whole fantasy football community as far as like putting this out. Also, too, I'm gonna make a quick plug because he ain't gonna do it, but I'll do it for him. Check out Nick on X. He's got his article up with fan tracks, so definitely check that out. Give that a look, man. I want to shout him out, show him some love on that right there. Like, much love on that, bro, for sure. So if you're not doing nothing, or if you're getting ready to go on the shitter real quick, just open up Twitter, pop it open, look at fan tracks, check out Nick's article. But yeah, man, that's all I got, bro.
Yep. I mean, new faces, new places. Got another one coming out. That's basically if you're drafting around the one spot, there'll be a mock draft analysis based on what players may go where or whatever for your upcoming home league. So got that coming down the pipeline, and then got a few things coming for the season on Fantrax too. So John, appreciate that. I wasn't gonna say anything because I was like, let me just keep this on the down low. But tell the world.
I ain't about that, man. I ain't about that. So yeah, man. So with that being said, we up out of here. We'll see y'all Monday night at 8 p.m.